Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order. If I could have a motion to allow Trustee O'Reilly to attend remotely. Moved by Trustee Tanucci. Seconded by Trustee Harris. All in favor? Motion carries. Bobby, you're in the meeting. Good evening, and thank you for joining us for the Long Grove Board meeting. I wish to extend a special thanks to the Long Grove Community Church congregation for allowing the village to use these facilities again, and for generously welcoming us tonight. I will also promise that we would conclude, conclude by 9 p.m. So we are going to conclude by 9 p.m. Before we get underway, I want to outline how we will proceed to help move things along tonight. As usual, we'll have our public comment portion of the meeting. This is intended to allow residents and others to present matters to the village board that are not on the agenda. We allotted up to 3 minutes per person, and 10 minutes overall for such comment. If we run out of time, comments can always be emailed to any board member or the village manager through our website. For those attending, because of the Quick Trip zoning application, this is on the agenda, so comments regarding that application should be made during the public comment portion of the meeting, and we will allow additional time for comment when we get to that portion of it. Be mindful that this is not a public hearing. The village board has received information regarding the hearings conducted by the Plan Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals. I'll further discuss our approach relating to the Quick Trip when we get to that portion of the meeting. I note that the village board will be conducting an additional business after the Quick Trip matter if time permits. So with that, I will move into a Pledge of Allegiance. Do we have a flag somewhere right there? Please all rise for a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first items on the agenda are the homeowners associations. I think I saw Greg Cadence of Fields of Long Grove here somewhere. You here? You want to come up to the front? You may want to use a microphone. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Good evening. I'd also like to introduce my fellow board member at the Fields of Long Grove, Jeff Burke. Thank you for joining me. So we're an association of 85 homes off of Gilmer Road, kind of the intersection of Gilmer and North Kruger. We were kind of founded around in the early 1990s. There are two sides. We're on both sides of Gilmer. We manage both our roads and our water system and our sewer system. In particular, I want to address with the board our water system. Our water system is coming up on 40 years old. We have 2 wells, and then we pump water into large drums, and then we push it out to the rest of the community. We're starting to look at options to replace that system. It's obviously, it's kind of at the end of its life. We think we may have a couple more years with it. We would love to get some help from the village in terms of planning for the future of the water system, if there's a possibility of working together to cobble together other associations in the area to make a joint effort to get on Lake Michigan water. That would be welcome. And anything else you would suggest or help us to kind of think about the future of how we manage the water in our community.
Yeah, village engineer Perry and I can work with you to think of some options there.
Okay. Are there options, or
You're pretty far from the downtown system, but we can crunch some numbers and talk about it.
Thank you. Yes.
Are the schools on well water, or are they?
I believe they're on Lake Michigan water.
Schools on?
Right next to our community is on Lake Michigan, I believe.
Where would they get the water from?
When the schools were built, Jeff, I don't know if you know more about this than I do,
I don't
but
have the details on that, but the school is on Lake Michigan Law.
we did look at tapping into that system. This was maybe perhaps 15 years ago, and at that time it was quoted like $3 million. It was pretty prohibitive for the 85 homes that live in the community.
Probably only 6 million now.
Oh, that's good news. Inflation being what it is.
Staff will assist you on that one, so.
Good. Thank you, Mayor.
Anything else? That's it? Yep. Thank you. Thanks for coming to the board meeting and being your HOA president. We really appreciate you volunteering. Anyone here from Highland Pines? Greg Chasen, I think is? If not, we'll move to the public portion for regular public comment, not regarding the Quick Trip. Anyone have public comment? Benjamin?
My name is Benjamin Matthew, and I'm from 4369 Oak Leaf Lane in the Village. I have a question about the special use application for 4359 Illinois 22, what the status of that is, or if there's been any progress or communication with the Village regarding their special use application. Thank you.
Nothing yet, Benjamin.
Matthews? Any other public comment?
I have one quick one,
Sure.
very, very quick.
You got a microphone down there? Or yeah. I think it's
It's on now? Is it on? Thanks, David. Very, very quickly, and I had sent this two-pager a little earlier today, but I don't think it got any of the trustees' attention till now. About a year ago, a resident came to me, his name, and I have to be careful about his last name. His name is Manesh Sankaran Cuddy, I believe. And he's either zooming in or he's in the audience. But he came to me with an idea a year ago, and I'm bringing up tonight. I'm going to rush through it a little bit because I know we have more business, but it's time sensitive. His wish is that the village can come up with a group of 8th to 10th grade children. You can't hear me? Now you can? Is that better? Okay. So to get a group, maybe 5 to 7, 8 to 10th grade children who live in the community, to identify opportunities for improvement in the village. We decided we would call the group the Imagineers, and we're asking them to pinpoint opportunities that they see, no matter how small or how large. It could be something as easy as, not as easy, but something like a senior citizen who can't take care of the exterior of their home on a monthly, weekly, daily basis to help them clean up a yard. It could be extending a pathway. It could be we don't have enough trash cans here. But to identify the problems, come together as a group and have leaders, have followers, break them into teams, have them identify all the parts of the puzzle that need to be put together to improve these issues. It could be something as easy as bridging neighborhoods in more than one way. Hold on, I got to turn the page in. And what we're asking for as a group is for the board to embrace it. You don't have to give us money, but we would like support with through the newsletter, maybe through social media. If we have opportunities that represent some sort of cash, we plan to have a Friends of the group, Friends of the Imagineers, who might want to donate. Maybe you have equipment, maybe you have strength, whatever. But this is something that I think has merit. I think it's great that he came up with this idea, and I hope that my fellow trustees can support us.
Thank you for your comments.
End of report.
Well, you'll have time later on, hopefully, for your report to discuss it later. Okay, if there's no more public comment, we'll move to the consent agenda. There are 3 items on it. Approval of the May 2025 Treasurer's Report, approval of the regular board meeting minutes from the May 13th, 2025 meeting, subject to non-substantive revisions. And then an approval and agreement with Lauterbach and Amen for finance and accounting services. After many, many years of working with Seidler, they are retiring, and so we have to find somebody else to do our books. So those are the three items on the consent agenda. Any questions, or does someone want to make a motion to approve?
I have one change to the minutes. Jane Primack's name is not spelled right.
Okay, please spell Jane Primack's name properly. And we do have a live motion from Trustee O'Reilly to approve. Anyone want to second it? Seconded by Trustee O'Connor. That's a roll call.
Roll call. Trustee O'Reilly. Trustee O'Connor. Trustee Borowski. Trustee Harris. Trustee Jamil. Trustee Tanucci. President Jacob.
I don't think I need to.
Oh, okay.
Thanks for asking. Motion carried. Yep, absolutely carried. So now to other business. I think the moment everyone's been waiting for. This is the Quick Trip discussion. As I mentioned at the start of the meeting, the village board will allow for limited public comment on the Quick Trip application because this is not a public hearing. The Plan Commission conducted their public hearing, having had multiple sessions, several of them at the church here. The board has been made aware of the comments from the hearings. The village board also discussed this at 2 previous meetings, and we received further public comment at that time and since. To that extent, if you're able, previously addressed comments, there's no need to bring those items up because they've already been brought up. So for the purposes of organizing the village board discussion tonight, we'll approach it as follows. I understand that the Quick Trip representatives have prepared a presentation to update the village board regarding various questions that came up during the last meeting. So I'll have the Quick Trip team start us off there. Next, we'll give time for public comment. Again, I ask in the interest of time that you only present comments on matters that have not previously been discussed. We're going to limit the time to 3 minutes maximum per person, 10 minutes total. May give a little more time, but we're going to try to keep it as tight as we can. We have to be out of here by 9. And then we'll bring it back for discussion of the application back to the village board, along with any action that might result. Please note, one of the things that could happen is absolutely nothing. So, but hopefully we'll make some progress and come to a conclusion here tonight. With that, I will turn it over to the Quick Trip representatives to make their presentation.
Hi there. Hi. Mitch Goltz, owner of GTZ Properties, managing principal, founder, and developer of this property. Do you need to swear me in or not, since it's not a...
No, you don't need to be sworn in.
Great, okay. Well, thank you very much for the background and color. Once again, my name is Mitch Goltz. My company is the contract purchaser for this property. I think this... Oh. Thank you, Chris. Wait, where do I aim it? I want to just clarify a couple things for the record here. So we are the contract purchaser. I know that meetings to date have been referenced as the Quick Trip project. Quick Trip is an important element of this project, but this is much more than the Quick Trip, and we're going to go through tonight what those pieces are and explain why some of these pieces have taken so long to get put together here. So we're going to go through a presentation, introduce some of the other members of the team, and of course introduce some of the members from Quick Trip. So we've been working on this project for almost 2 years. This is a very complicated property. It's a large property. There's a lot of moving pieces outside of the village's control and frankly outside of our control. And part of the reason why we're just coming into the mix now in a more active role is because some of these pieces are such large, looming items that have great impacts on the viability of the development here. Those things include the millions of dollars of site infrastructure. It includes the access and whether access will be granted and in what capacity, as well as the market constraints in the retail world. So over the last several months, we think there's been a great amount of momentum on solving some of those things, and we look forward to the opportunity tonight to go through some of those. I have handouts if anybody can't see this, but my company, we have been one of those active development companies in the Chicagoland area in the last 10 years. We've completed over $1 billion of development projects throughout the Chicagoland area and nationwide. You'll hear from a few members of our team, including John Talty, Principal Architect at OKW, as well as Kimley Horn and Quick Trip. A couple development examples here, which really are more to be presented as examples in nature. These are not necessarily reflections of what is being proposed here, but more just to show you the breadth of our development experience, the amount of tenants we work with, and the type of creativity we have in the project. So this is one project we just completed in Norridge with a Caputo's grocery store, retail buildings, and a Ricky Rockets. We redeveloped the Macy's furniture store in Oak Brook next to Costco into a 7-building, 14 tenant project that's been wildly successful with 6 or 7 restaurants, retail, medical, daycare, and so forth and so on. We've done 3 projects in nearby Buffalo Grove. The most recent ones are the Lazy Dog at the corner of Lake Cook and 83, as well as the Wild Fork and veterinary emergency care. A project that's underway right now, and we hope to start construction very soon, which the village attorney is well aware of, is the old former Beeson's Nursery in Bannockburn at the corner of 22 and Waukegan Road. This project bears some resemblances because it's anchored by a Mariano's that predated our involvement, and we are redeveloping into 5 buildings and 40,000 square feet of retail with retail, banks, daycare, drive-throughs, and all sorts of new and exciting restaurants. This might need to be zoomed in, but part of the reason why we hadn't gotten involved today is that in the retail world, tenants are very demanding. They ask a lot of questions of us developers. They want to know when we're going to be able to deliver, what's it going to cost, what's it going to look like, what's the access, who are the co-tenants, and these are questions that normally can get answered, but this property, being 15 acres, presents a lot of questions that aren't so easy to answer. The access, what's it going to look like? When is IDOT going to approve it? What are the co-tenants going to be? What's going to go on in the back of it? When can you deliver? These are all questions that were very difficult to answer. There were some very large costs and answers that we did not have when we started this process. I could tell you through good planning and great effort on our team and the Quick Trip team, we've gotten a lot more answers in the last several months. We have taken this pretty far through IDOT to better understand what the access on this property would look like. We've been able to let the market settle down from construction costs and viability on new construction, which has been very challenging the last 3 to 5 years. We've also been able to understand more on the cost for the infrastructure, which are millions of dollars that are being proposed to be privately financed on the development, which is not always that common in this marketplace. So we're getting more involved here, and we're seeing a lot of momentum to see through a larger project that is what we've ultimately envisioned to see through. Quick Trip is a very important part of this project, and this project cannot get done without them because they're taking a large financial burden of the cost on what this needs to get the site developable into up to 6 lots. And we've taken through IDOT and have good approval, confidence with what access is going to look like here. So it may be hard for some of those in the back to see the screen here, but the concept plan, which we'll get into a little bit more in depth, shows the Quick Trip on the bend that had been contemplated in previous meetings, and up to 3 outlots along the street, of which we're talking to many restaurants and retail tenants. We have a very long established ice cream shop that is very selective in where they go. We're talking to several full service restaurants. We're talking to some exciting users in the rear that we hadn't even known existed up until very recently. So I would like to introduce you to John Talty from OKW Architects, who has a deep understanding of the market, the site, and what we're adding into as part of this development. John.
Got it. Thank you very much. My name is John Talty. Last name is spelled T-A-L-T-Y, like salty with a T. I am chairman and CEO of OKW Architects. We are the proud authors of Sunset Grove, which is immediately north of this site. We've been a part of this community for many years, thanks to that project and others that we have contributed to through the years. And when Mitch contacted me about this property, I was really happy to hear the news that this was going to come to fruition, because I always felt like when we executed Sunset Grove, The property to the south just wanted, the site needed to be completed. And I think as we look at this very, very schematic site plan, the idea of the connectivity to the buildings to the north and kind of completing the corridor along Route 83, I think is a really important thing. Let me preface all this by letting you know how I feel about Long Grove. Long Grove is a unicorn. I'm born and raised in the Chicago suburban area. I've been working for our firm for 35 years. I've been running the business for 30. And when people talk about Long Grove, people understand what it is. They understand the culture of Long Grove. They understand the scale of Long Grove. They understand the passion of Long Grove. And when we approach this problem from a planning perspective or an architectural perspective, it's with that as kind of the first step. So we want to be very, very respectful of this community, the people who live here, and the efforts that we take in terms of the planning and the architecture will represent that. As Mitch spoke, we just to vet ourselves so that you understand we know what we're doing. Retail architecture is a core competency of our firm. We've been in business since 1959, and the retail world has always been something that we have taken great pride in. We have contributed to millions and millions of square feet around the country. And these images that you see on the screen, some have palm trees in them. There's no palm trees in Long Grove. We recognize that. But what I was trying to represent in terms of the imagery of these past projects and current projects is the notion of scale and context and quality. We have a project to the north that we have great pride in. It's been very successful for the community. It is not our intent to simply replicate Sunset Grove to the south, but build off of it, make it better if we can, and be sympathetic and empathetic to the scale, the materiality, the pedestrian and vehicular access points, all the things that make it successful and will make this successful, and connect those dots so that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts when we're all said and done. I think it's very important to understand too the kind of the quality and the scale of the buildings that we want to create. They have to be pedestrian friendly. Yes, the cars are getting in and out of the site, and we need to get people to the front doors. But once you're on the property, we want to connect the north and south sides of this kind of barbell in such a way that it becomes a more cohesive development for the community. We also recognize very much that it's the front door to your community. It's the first impression people are going to have as they come to Long Grove or drive through Long Grove. So we're sensitive to that, and we want our front door, the development's front door, to be reflective of that. One of the tenants that's shown interest in this site that Mitch alluded to is a thing called a car condo. I did not know what a car condo was 6 months ago. And I can tell you right now, our firm is doing 2 such projects, one in Barrington, one in Lake Zurich. And the concept of what a car condo is a fancy private club for people who have a lot of money and really beautiful cars to come and gather and display those cars, show them off to their friends, and gather as a community of automobile lovers in what I would call a condominium for automobiles. This concept includes a clubhouse. It includes private event space for the showing of automobiles on the inside and outside of the buildings. And it is really quite an amazing thing. There's one being developed across the street from Windstone Golf Club in Lake Zurich, and the first one we've executed is being developed currently in Barrington on Huff Street in the infamous Triangle site for those of you who know downtown Barrington. So it's not just about retail and white tablecloth restaurants. It's about lots of other things that are interested in being a part of this community. So we want to acknowledge that, we want to celebrate that, and we want to do it in a quality way. So that's what I have to say. Again, the planning is very premature. The conversation is more about these gentlemen here with Quick Trip, and I'll let them speak at this point.
Thank you, John. I'd like to introduce you back to Skylar from Quick Trip to go through some highlights, some of the changes from the portion of the presentation that most affect them.
Thank you. Skylar Evans with Quick Trip. Thank you all for having us again. I'm not going to go through Quick Trip's history here. I just want to update a couple things from our last meeting. So our canopy, talking to Chris and working through canopy design, it's in process right now. We're working on eliminating the silver around the canopy, and then just having our canopy sign or Quick Trip logos on there. The next update is lighting. So Quick Trip would like to keep the lighting that we have currently within the Quick Trip property, just because it helps with our overall security. But what we've been able to do is add dimmers to the canopy and the building lighting to bring the amount of light that comes in, bring it down, dim it down at night, so we kind of come in more into a dark skies type of environment. And then also for lighting around the rest of the site, we can add antique lighting, something that matches in with downtown Long Grove if that's somewhere that the architectural board would like to take it. But we are open to those so that we can keep moving in the right direction here. Entry into Long Grove. As we talked about last time, adding in a knee wall. I've got some renderings later on the presentation here. But the knee wall will go around the fourth leg of the intersection and then around the retention pond as well. The Welcome to Long Grove sign, we've incorporated that into the knee wall to match the overall aesthetic of the building and the whole development. The next update is the red stripe from the building. We were able to completely remove that off the building completely, so all of our awnings on the building do not have the red stripe anymore. Still a 24-hour operation, and then as far as the landscaping goes, we'll continue to work with the staff and the Architectural Commission as we go through this, but one of the mentions was adding boulders or something like that along Illinois 83, and we can work to incorporate those as we go through and finalizing the design. So as you can see here, around the fourth leg of the intersection, kind of in darker black, is the knee wall, kind of where it's going to be. And then the Long Grove sign is over on the right-hand side, right as you come into Long Grove. So here's the proposed landscaping at the corner. It's kind of hard to see here, but behind the trees, you can see the knee wall kind of comes around the road there. This is a little bit better to see where the Long Grove sign is on the bottom right-hand corner above the sidewalk. And then that wall kind of continues around the corner of the pond there. Over on the left-hand side, you can see how it goes around the retention pond there as well. Sorry, this is a little bit better picture. It's still kind of hard to see here, but this is stacked stone, that Sonoma stone that matches the building here, and the canopy columns incorporated with Welcome to Long Grove, Welcome to the Village of Long Grove, and that can be, we can work on that with staff if that would like to be changed to something else. Skip through those. Our floor plan's still the same. We haven't changed anything here. Here's our building elevation. This is updated to reflect the removal of the red stripe on the building canopies. and we can cover any of these additional items. If you guys have any questions about standards or anything like that, we do have that material available. And if I'll give this back to Mitch.
Thank you, Skylar. And these are all on the packet for more detail. It's hard to see on these screens, but there are a lot more details in the application itself. Once again, our team's here. We are seeking a rezoning to HR1, highway retail, looking for preliminary PUD approval, looking for a zoning map amendment, then any special uses or text amendments to allow the uses for this project, which you've heard a few tonight: gas station, restaurants, coffee shop, outdoor dining, or whatever the motor suites would be considered. A couple project highlights, which we touched on. This project will provide tremendous amount of investment to install all the site improvements and infrastructure, including the access, the detention, roads, and landscaping. This is many millions of dollars. This is one of the large reasons this property is sat empty for so long, is because these are the types of improvements that have to get done before any sort of development were to occur. We'll be creating hundreds of construction jobs in both full-time and part-time positions within the project for the businesses, with a focus on local hiring with market compensation and benefits. At this point, we're envisioning up to 8 or 10 businesses in the project that will serve as the final puzzle piece to the long-term vision of a cohesive development anchored by Sunset. This will drive further growth, increase property values, and attract more businesses to the community. We believe this project will bring in over $30 million in new investment to Long Grove, with continued investment anticipated as the project grows. This will generate significant sales tax, municipal fees, bonds, all that type of stuff. I want to point out, this project is being proposed to be completely privately financed. We are not seeking any TIF subsidies or any other governmental programs to afford this project, which is not common in this marketplace. We have not been trying to take on projects that require a lot of subsidies, but this is one that we have stakeholders that were willing to share in the cost to get this project done. And both short-term and long-term, this project will generate millions of dollars to the village of Long Grove, which will provide a new revenue stream that can be used for further endeavors at Long Grove and fulfill financial obligations that government bodies have. I just want to say as a closing, we were very excited and proud to be here. I grew up on the North Shore. This is a property and area that I've always longed to want to develop. We will make this project special, unique, and what it deserves, and this will be truly a Long Grove-worthy project, which is why we have the best-in-class team with John and everybody else. So with that, happy to answer any questions. Our entire team is here. I met many of them. I'm happy to open this up to the board for any questions, comments, or anything else. Thank
Do
you.
you have any questions right now, or do we want to open it up for public comment first? Okay, no questions at the moment. So thank you, Mitch and team, Skylar and all, for that presentation. I'm now going to open it up for public comment. Yeah. Oh.
Can you hear me? Do you have a business manager or business associate who can answer this question better? See, there are a lot of concerns from the community about the proposed gas station. There are 2 or 3 gas stations near the vicinity. So how different is your gas station from the other gas stations? And if the business associate is here, if he can answer, what additional things you guys are proposing in that different from the other gas stations? Because I'm concerned about the traffic.
Yeah, so, in past presentations, we've talked about how we're a private company. We don't answer to stakeholders as far as, a public company does. We're able to maintain our standards higher than most companies are, just because we don't have to focus on profits. We're able to focus on customer service. Our employees are well-trained. We have well-kept appearance. We make sure that our property is well-maintained. We look long-term. We never look for a short-term project for us. We put too much effort and too much investment into the communities that we're involved in. And that's really what makes us different. It's not something tangible that makes Quick Trip different. It's everything else that makes Quick Trip different. We also focus a lot on our food offer, and that's something that's really big for us. That separates us from a lot of our competitors. We have top-of-the-line equipment. We make sure that almost all of our equipment can be, maintained from our service center in Tulsa and Dallas. We also have our own facility support people on the ground that are Quick Trip employees, so they know how to work on the Quick Trip equipment. We're not relying on somebody else to come in and learn Quick Trip equipment. So we train from the ground up from our store employees, our facility support, our quality assurance, our delivery, all that stuff's all internal to Quick Trip, which is a lot more than what a lot of other companies can say.
This is the intersection. The reason why I asked you this question is if you go review the Quick Trip online and do some research, you know, at the staff training, what you talked about, and the staff turnover, because of which there are long lines. Did you have any kind of steps to improve that the long lines will be avoided and your staff is not rotated in the other places, or they quit and you know, you have to get training to them? Because if you do some research, you know, particularly because of this heavy traffic intersection, I'm concerned about the backflow of the traffic onto 83. So do you have any plans specific, or do you have any contract with the employees to stay within time period who are trained so that, you know, this traffic aversion is done?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So that goes to our operational standards that we have. So we have a 3-to-1 standard for all employees, which is 3 customers to 1 employee at the register. So our employees, something else that makes Quick Trip a little bit different is we can run all of our registers. We can run 4 registers with 1 employee. You don't log in each time, which creates a delay whenever you have to log into a separate computer. Our drawers are all 1 drawer, which makes it a lot faster for us to take care of our, you know, customers. So a 3-to-1 standard for us. So if at any point in time a 4th customer is walking up to get into a line, a 2nd employee will stop what they're doing and get into the check stand and take care of the entire line until there's nobody. And then that employee will go back, continuing what they were doing prior to that line, you know, forming.
The last final question from my side. Last time also I asked this question about the surrounding businesses. Do you have any, did you research the existing businesses in downtown Long Grove and the Sunset, the Sunset premises? Did you research it, and what type of businesses are you seeking in the surrounding lots?
Yeah, so this is Mitch again. We have, and you know, this project is been an evolution over a long period of time. And back to the access, I mean, there's a lot of things that we couldn't answer until certain things were set in stone. I mean, Quick Trip is best in class on the operations, but you know, we've all seen lines at various places. But you know, what I'll point out is, you know, most of the traffic going through here is passerby traffic, and Quick Trip has a great amount of loyalty. And what the tenants that we're talking about, you know, want to be near Quick Trip because they know there's a draw, and they want to be near all the other Long Grove anchors here. So we're talking to full-service restaurants, limited-service restaurants, a couple, higher-end full-service breakfast restaurants, you know, drive-throughs. So those types of users want to be where the traffic is. I mean, it's somewhat logical that, you know, people want to be where people are already going, and with having a grocery store as an anchor, you know, we're seeking the restaurant users primarily. There's not much of a soft goods, you know, market. You're not getting traditional retail. You're not going to get a mid-box type store here like a TJ Maxx. That's not what we're seeking here. The types of buildings that are on here, which are maybe a bit hard to see from the crowd, are, you know, probably 12 to 15,000 square feet of retail space along the street. Find, you know, 1 or 2 restaurants that are in the 3,000 to 5,000 square foot ranges. For reference, the Lazy Dog that we just developed in Buffalo Grove is about a 6,000 square foot building. So, you know, ultimately we go after all the tenants. We work with all these tenants nationwide. We have to bring someone in here that sees the value that we see and sees that they can be successful here, because a project like this is many millions of dollars, and a lot of the users that say, hey, I'd love to get these guys here, they simply can't afford the costs that they have to and we have to spend. So it's all going to be complementary. The types of users in the back that John had illustrated were users, frankly, I had never heard of, but they seem to make a lot of sense. So ultimately, this is going to be one cohesive development. The gas is on one side. Gas is a very common anchor to a lot of projects that we've developed, and you just look across the market. But you know, the plan is to have a nice cohesive mix, not take away from anything that Sunset's done, be complementary, and coming in, 15 years later allows us in the market to see kind of what's been successful, what's not, where does the market go. Users that may have been, logical 15 years ago may have left the market. So the information we're working with is very real time, and we already have a handful of restaurants that have said, Mitch, if you can get this project to the right point, we want to come in here, and that's the type of market draw that we're trying to achieve here to, be the one that is the sought after group here. So hopefully that I can answer your question.
That was not my question, but my question was, I understand that Quick Trip is willing and ready to get going for the gas station portion of it. But the surrounding businesses which you are going to bring, you don't have to disclose the business details of it, I can totally understand. But whether it will affect the businesses already in the Sunset premises and in the downtown, because we don't want to hamper their businesses, because if you don't have any research study done, or at least a plan of what to attract in the surrounding places near the Quick Trip, then, it's very difficult.
Well, understood, and we're not looking to poach tenants from the Sunset Center or downtown. I mean, we obviously are very open to talking to any users in the community that may want a different type of space, but the types of users that we're bringing in, and we're using the existing tenancy in the market as a catalyst to bring other businesses here. I mean, people want to come here because they see success of others, and that's where our marketing is a multiple prong approach to really figure out what's missing here, what's desired in the community. We've been consulting with the village staff as to what's desired, and I've heard a lot of different ideas, some of which aren't maybe market feasible and others are. I mean, we're actively working with 2 or 3 breakfast restaurants, sit-down restaurants. We're talking to a handful of full-service sit-down. We're working with a very strong local restaurant that's a vegan restaurant that has a tremendous following. I mean, we're not able to disclose names at this point because of there's some sort of competitive reasons why tenants don't want to disclose where they're going, because if for some reason the project doesn't happen, they don't necessarily want others to know. But we're finally at the point as a development team that we're comfortable that we have the pieces in our tool belt to pull this project off. And I couldn't have said that 12 or 18 months ago because we weren't there. We didn't have the feedback from IDOT, which we now have. We didn't have the sense on the cost for infrastructure. We now have a better sense, which is why we're taking more of the face of this project. This is a GTZ project, and I would not put my company's name on the line on something that we wouldn't want to get done. So we ultimately want to fill this thing up as soon as we can, and this would all ultimately have to get developed all at once. This is not going to be a Quick Trip with vacant land, which I know had been a concern. We wouldn't want that either. I don't think your village attorney would allow that to happen. I've seen his documents before, and we'll make sure this all gets developed at once. But we're excited, we're energized to get this going. I think that we're seeing some tailwinds in the market to an extent, and we really want to bring the best product, bring the best product here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would like to open up for public comment. Maximum of approximately 10 minutes, 3 minutes each. Maybe you can line up, come up front, and we'll do it that way. So.
Doug Primack, 2812 Knoll Drive. Been with in the village for about 25 years now. I wrote down some notes so I don't ramble. As is the case with most of our residents, I would prefer not to have a gas station on the South 15 property. Unfortunately, the alternatives could be worse. I have spoken with several people with knowledge about TIFs, including a former village president and a former trustee, and found that there's a real possibility that once the TIF expires, the South 15 parcel could be annexed into Buffalo Grove. This would mean that we would lose any control over what goes in, how it looks, and of course the tax revenue. I'm sure that Vic would have some thoughts on this. I'm sure he's been involved. We would be fooling ourselves if we think that something other than a commercial business would be built on that land. The clock is ticking on making something happen on this property. Every cycle of evaluating a use seems to take years. Quick Trip has made great strides to adjust the looks of the location to fit into our village. That's most of what I had to say. In addition, if when it gets developed, I would recommend like a higher-end hotel that would complement like the new Seasons Banquet Center or country clubs that, you know, have weddings and other destination people coming in. They would be a great place to stay. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Next. Thank you.
Bill Brand, 5219 Briarcrest. I've been here for about 30 years. I have a question about what he just mentioned about the TIF thing. Is that an actual fact that Buffalo Grove, if they want it, can take that land, yes or no?
There is a provision in the Illinois statutes that allows a property to disconnect. It's very difficult while a TIF is in place. If the TIF were to expire, those dynamics change. Under Illinois law, disconnection is favored for the property owner when conditions are met, and this property has the potential for meeting those conditions if it's not developed with village utilities after the TIF would.
So the TIF that we have now expires in what year?
2031.
2031. All right, about 6 years from now. Then Buffalo Grove could move forward if they wanted to and try to annex it and develop it on their own, correct?
The process is more complicated.
I'm sure it's more complicated, but it is feasible. It might take years to do that, but it could potentially happen. All right, so we could be looking many years down the road. Okay, without getting redundant about everything, I just don't feel, and I think the majority of the citizens in Long Grove don't feel that a gas station is necessary. It's not, and we all in this building know it's not. You've got the Shell down the street, you've got the other, Casey's across the street. You could ride your bike there or certainly walk in 12 minutes to get there. Mel's is trying to survive for the last, 40 years in downtown Long Grove. The gentleman on the end, he's correct. You put a couple restaurants, even if they're only 5,000 or 6,000 square foot, and God forbid they serve Italian food, how's that going to affect the Italian restaurant in downtown Long Grove? It's got to be about money, because it seems like this has already been done. I guess this is, if it hasn't passed, we all know, everybody in this room knows it's passed, okay? Well, your opinion doesn't matter. Why? Because if you listen to everybody, the architect even admitted that, oh, this is the entrance to Long Grove and we want it to be pretty. Well, maybe there's citizens here that don't want it, period. Okay, so what you did was you developed the Sunset property. Okay, now they want to eat up whatever's left. Why? Because it's got to be the almighty dollar on the bottom. Somebody's invested. The gentleman behind me over there, do you own this property? Does your company physically own it?
Can you keep the comments to us, please?
Oh, yeah. Is the property owned by GTZ? As of now, do they own the land? Or they just develop it?
Contract purchaser is what was said.
So they did purchase the land?
No.
Not,
We have a contract.
to do it if they wanted to. Okay, fine. So, and as they said, they don't need any money to develop it because they have private financing, which is great. That means the people investing in it know darn well there's money in this deal, guys. There's money sitting here. Again, it's all about the money. Do you, the citizens, want a gas station? You want to develop it for retail?
So
Fine.
I'm going to, sorry to do this,
Yes.
but it's been over 3 minutes.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you to sit
Okay.
down now. So thank you for your feedback.
Good.
My name is Jane Primack, and I live off of Long Grove Road, about a half a mile west of 53. And I come through the intersection of 53 to go northbound on 83 every morning between 6:30 and 7 and go through the humongous traffic chaos of trying to turn left onto 83. I just talked to my neighbor who was sideswiped in that intersection on 53 by some person in that right-hand turn lane that just decided to move over when she was there and not without benefit of space or of signal. I do not want this. I do not want this gas station here. That being said, though, I have spent time talking to a previous president and, more important, to a previous trustee who has extensive knowledge about the TIF. The TIF is a big issue, I think, that has never been brought up by anybody. The TIF was established in 2008 for a period of 23 years. So we are already 17 years into this TIF where the property has not yet been developed. If the TIF runs out, then yes, Buffalo Grove, with some conditions, can annex the property. And if Buffalo Grove annexes the property, they can choose to put anything they want on that property. Right now, Quick Trip has done some really good work in trying to make it as aesthetically pleasing as possible. If Buffalo Grove should annex the property, they will not be willing or wanting to work as hard with us to make it look pleasing because it's their property. So they can put anything they want. If you want an example, they put a gas station on Lake Cook Road east of where 83 joins Lake Cook Road, and it's the most god-awful thing in the world. They could choose to put something like that there too. So I don't want this. I desperately don't want this. But right now I'm looking at the lesser of two evils. So if it has to be to put it in to prevent Buffalo Grove from annexing it and putting what they want in there, I'd rather see that. But I do not want this anyways. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
I have a question.
Archana Mohanchandra, resident of
Hold the thought there, please. Yeah.
Archana Mohanchandra, resident of Country Club Estates. I have a couple of questions. GTC proposed was never there in the picture for the last 2 years. Now suddenly we see this developer coming without having a cohesive plan that was put forward to the Planning Zoning Commission. How do you expect it to be approved or not approved by the Zoning Commission when we never had a cohesive plan? Are we asking for an ad hoc yes or no right here from the Board of Trustees who haven't seen a zoning plan or a site plan? You come in the picture after 2 years. One is that. Second is the architect is talking about, respectfully, about a passion of Long Grove, beautiful historic district. A gas station doesn't blend into the architect's comments at all. A gas station is nowhere near a historic district, nor the passion of the residents of Long Grove. Two, we are talking of a condo. What are we talking, a car condo? A glorified parking garage? Who is going to use that glorified parking garage? Who is coming there? Tell me. I need answers before it can be approved. It has never been put forward by PCZBA, and I don't think Long Grove stands for either a car condo or a gas station. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hi, my name is Nick Michaud, M-I-C-H-A-U-D. I'm at 3222 RFD. We talk a lot about Sunset and how it anchors this project. It's just north of the site. Well, I drove through the parking lot of Sunset, making my way towards Aptekissick, and I noticed that north of Sunset itself, every single storefront to Sherwin-Williams is empty. It's failed. It isn't bringing any money into the village. It's doing nothing for us. Frankly, it looks sad. And I'm worried that we can bring in the old architect, we can bring in this new project, but my concern is that we're gonna end up with nothing but another batch of empty storefronts that do nothing for us. We're giving up a lot for this Quick Trip, what, 6, 7 special exemptions, and all we're gonna do is end up with more empty storefronts that don't bring anything to our village.
Thank you. Thank you for your feedback. Jenny? Yeah, go ahead, Jenny. Yeah, we're getting close, but.
I'm super fast. Jenny Michaud, same spelling, 3222. I just had a question about the car condo. Is that, I mean, a private club membership only? Does that bring any sales tax into the community, or is that, I don't understand.
Can we just bring that back to
no,
the
I'm
board?
just, that's a question for you that I have about that.
Right.
And then the thing that rung for me is the developer said, Long Grove is a unicorn. We all know we're a unicorn. There's a reason why we're a unicorn. We stand by our principles, and we don't look like other communities for a reason, because we're really thoughtful about this. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Jenny. We'll try to finish, and we got to get going. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll be fast too. Zach Moore, 3208 RFD. I've said these things before. I know you don't want repeats, but to reiterate, The lighting, he said they wanted to keep the same lights they use. I want to trust the architectural committee. If this moves forward, we'll say no to that and correct some of those issues. I am vehemently against this being 24-hour operation, right? We talk about we talk about what makes Long Grove Long Grove. I've only lived here 4 years. It's not a 24-hour village, right? And if that's the hill they're going to die on, let them die on it, right? This has to be closed for 6 hours a night. And the lighting conditions in the acceptance agreement say closed and the lights go down. If they don't close, the lights never go down. Number three, the number of pumps, right? I drive by the Casey's, I drive by the Shell all the time. There's never more than 3 or 4 cars. Never. We do not need 16 fueling spaces. 6 fits the scale of our village. I still don't want a gas station here, though. We don't need it.
Thank you for your feedback. Last one, thank you.
Karina Goodley, I live on Old McHenry Road. I'm just here
Can you repeat
representing.
that? I'm sorry.
Karina Goodley on Old McHenry
Yeah,
Road.
thank you. Yes.
I'm just here representing, we have a petition as well of 990 signatures, the vast majority of which have confirmed with their zip codes that they live around here and that they do not want this. There is a number of comments. We've sent this in. I just want to make sure that it's on the record and known to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Okay, so I'll turn this, oh, go, you have one? Yeah.
If you don't mind, I was taking notes. I'm happy to hear what the board has, but I do want to just clarify and address some of those things head on. In no particular order, I can barely read my own writing, but I want to point out that the owner of the property who is here, he's been trying to sell this property actively for the better part of my life. This property has a very limited pool of buyers that are capable and willing to do what needs to get done here to develop this site. This is not a corner acre parcel that has 100 people that can do it. But the safety concern I want to point out, one of the big reasons we hadn't been involved until more recently is the access. Safety, access, IDOT. I mean, IDOT is one of the most challenging government bodies in the state. And if you asked me a year and a half ago what access looked like, I can give you 12 different options and couldn't give you confidence in any of them. Over the last 18 months, we've been able to really flush out the plans to the point where IDOT has conceptually signed off on the access, and this will become a safer intersection. I mean, right now, there's no traffic control or anything. People don't know where they're necessarily going at times. I mean, this access that's being proposed on this plan has been vetted by IDOT. It will provide better traffic movements. People will know where they're going. The sight lines will be better. People will be traversing through the Sunset Center. People will be turning in here to go through the Sunset Center. So I want to point out that any time a project goes in for approvals with villages, government bodies, it gets a lot of scrutiny from a lot of different bodies, far bigger than Long Grove, and they all have to sign off before a permit's issued, period. So we've been at odds with IDOT before on projects. We've been at odds when a village wants something and IDOT wants different, but at the end of the day, it all has to work. I also want to point out that we did not develop the Sunset Center. We had, I was a frequent customer early on, but 15 years is a long time, and at the end of the day, businesses can want to be places, but the way they survive is by being successful and having people frequent their businesses. So I can tell you with absolute certainty that none of the users that we're talking to right now have even remotely considered going into the spaces at Sunset because it's a mismatch of market product. Those spaces that are buried off the street are not conducive to the types of users we're talking to. The restaurants that we want, they want outdoor seating behind the building, they want it off the street, they want a nice branded entrance, they want a big area that they can have weddings, banquets, events. I mean, we have to cultivate or curate an environment that is what these tenants want. So, you can look back and say, well, there's vacant stores. And unfortunately, a lot of the markets we're developing and have vacancies, okay? I mean, Bannockburn Green, we're developing across the street. We're pretty much leased up. I could lease that twice. There's vacancy across the street. It's a mismatch in the market, but at the end of the day, these businesses can go in, but the way they survive and have longevity is by being frequented. And Long Grove, while it's a small community, you guys have a lot of buying power, you have a lot of loyalty, and we're trying to bring people in here that the neighborhood and community will want to see. On the motor suites, as we call it, I know the word condo is one. I want to point out what that is because I love cars, and I hadn't known what that is. We're talking about basically a country club for cars. I mean, you're talking about someone spending $1 million to $3 million for a place to store their vehicles. You know, when I heard about that, I said, just buy a bigger house or build an addition. But there's people that seek out these types of environment to be with other car enthusiasts, to bring their kids, their grandkids, their friends over to show their cars on the weekend. And we are trying to build a project that will have multi-generational users, have complimentary, you can go for breakfast and go to see your car. I mean, it's something that maybe some people don't understand, but it brings in revenue. It's a good use for the back. One of the challenges in the site is the size. There's not that many uses that can go in the back that want to go off the street, but this use that our architect is doing in Barrington is a very high-end concept. I mean, you're not buying one of these things unless you have, you know, a lot of disposable money, but also wanting to go out and seek out the cars. It's a country club type atmosphere. As far as the TIF, I will leave much of that to the village, but you know, what I'll point out about with TIF is that, you know, TIFs they can go both ways. I mean, TIFs are put into place to fund things, but at the end of the day, TIFs.
Just, you know, you'll finish shortly, but thank you from the audience.
You know, TIFs are put into place to inspire development. But at the end of the day, projects like this are what funds these TIFs. And if projects don't happen, these TIFs get underfunded. And when the TIFs come up, sometimes villages are faced with very difficult decisions to make on what to do next. And while it was raised on the whole Buffalo Grove topic, we're not here to make any threat. We want to get this thing done, okay? But this project and the gas station and the millions of dollars of infrastructure, in many municipalities, the municipality would be pushing money into these projects to see them get developed, okay? So yeah.
So we have
Yeah,
time.
no, that's fine. I just want to point out that this property will generate money for the TIF, not take it. So
No, we're not going to public again. and
That's
thank
all.
you. We are not, you're out of order. Please be quiet.
I'm happy to answer any questions, but
You are out
that's
of
it.
order.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm happy to answer any questions.
You had a
I'm
question
done.
over there, Trustee Jamil.
Question for Vic. Can you hear me? So, in order for the Buffalo Grove to annex this property, what's the statute for Buffalo Grove? How many acres of land under which they can annex and after which they cannot annex? That's number one. Number two, if this property goes to Buffalo Grove, so because it's in the vicinity of the Long Grove, does the village have the right to challenge?
In terms of the statutory requirement, it's a minimum of 20 acres. It doesn't have to be owned by the same property, so it could be multiple property owners banding together. In terms of the Buffalo Grove's zoning, could we challenge it? Yes, we could, but we'd be challenging it on the basis that it was unreasonable and it would be in the context of Buffalo Grove's planning.
Okay, let's turn this back over to the board. I don't know if we want to start. Who wants to start? Kent?
Is this live? Okay, good. So I'm in support of this development, not because I'm in love with the idea of a gas station, excuse me, but in part because this property will be developed one way or another. It'll either be developed under the supervision of Long Grove with conditions, significant conditions that we place on it, or in 6 years it'll be developed by Buffalo Grove and we will have zero input on what goes there. None. Better to have control over what goes there, even if it's not precisely what we'd like to see, than have no control and have it be nothing that we want to see. So I'm in favor of this proposal.
Thank you. Mike, we can go in order. Trustee Borowski, do you want to? Not yet. Trustee Harris?
Sure. So I also am in favor. When I just ran for trustee, the primary question I was getting while I was running was, you know, gas station or no gas station. And it's an easy answer, no gas station. We don't want a gas station, we don't need it. I heard public comment tonight. We don't need a gas station. There's no need for it. That's absolutely correct. There is a need to develop this property, and it's going to get developed, period. I mean, I echo the sentiments of Trustee Tanucci that my biggest concern is losing this to Buffalo Grove. And I've heard, skepticism. It's already happened to Long Grove as far as I understand. The Shell McDonald's used to be Long Grove. I mean, that was annexed by Buffalo Grove for essentially the same issues that we're dealing with right now. And the other thing is, I keep hearing all this talk about village charm. That's why I moved here. That's why most of us live here. But I drive up Arlington Heights Road, and I see the Casey's, I see the Shell McDonald's, then I come around onto 83, and I see the beautiful farmland. It's not going to remain farmland. And then I see the executive house, which is a little worn out. We continue on. There's a shuttered PNC Bank. There's a Domino's Pizza. There's a Verizon store. There's vacant storefronts throughout Sunset Food Strip. You continue on north on 83. We have a dilapidated Bally Bunyan with a closed down miniature golf. You then have a torn down greenhouse. And then there's I don't know if it's a flower house or it looks like it's about to fall over. This house with a 10-foot fence and just, it's ugly. I mean, there's a lot of issues with 83. This is not the corridor of village charm that we all love and appreciate Long Grove for. However, my biggest concern is losing control. Buffalo Grove will not care. I see not just a Quick Trip coming in or some other gas station, but a Just Tires, a Jiffy Lube, maybe a vape alcohol store. I mean, the sky's the limit. This is really our only opportunity. And I mean, we have to just deal or play with the hand that we've been dealt. And right now, this is it. If we say no to this, there is a good chance that nothing else comes of this until there's a proposed annexation. That's the reality. I mean, we've had a couple developments been presented to the board over the last 16 years with this property. One was a nursing home, and there was something else. But there's not, there aren't development or proposals coming in every year here, and it will take years before we could even consider something else. Thank you.
Okay, what I just...
I also look at this as an opportunity to revitalize. I'm sorry for taking so much time.
No, you're good.
It's a big issue. I see a huge opportunity to revitalize this area with the development. Sure, the Quick Trip's coming in. These guys have done a lot to try and make us happy. I think the proposal looks pretty good. This is also a preliminary proposal at this point. But I do like the idea that there's an opportunity to revitalize and possibly bring in some additional businesses into some of the vacant storefronts in Sunset, and just give a fresh look to 83 and maybe kick off something else that can benefit that stretch of 83.
See, I'm not in favor of this Quick Trip because I'm not convinced by the answers given by Quick Trip representatives. So the reasons, I'm not against anybody applying, as I told in the prior meetings as well. I respect the freedom, and I also respect that landowner who's trying to sell his property. But there are a couple of things which got me caught off guard. Number one, the Planning Commission minutes. Irrespective of their unanimous decision, which I may not agree, but that should have been provided to the trustees far in advance. And the business lots in the premises of the Quick Trip, that business lots, the Quick Trip is not able to satisfy, as far as I'm concerned, what is going to be that which is going to affect the existing businesses in Sunset versus Long Grove downtown area. So I'm not convinced. It looks to me that if we give this permission, then the standalone Quick Trip is going to come within whatever the time frame they are trying to do it, and then there will be a standalone gas station which will congest the traffic. And there are some concerns about what exactly they are going to sell and how is it going to impact the current residents, particularly the youth. We don't want to be a standalone gas station, particularly in the premises where there are 2 other gas stations nearby. They are not able to give us the business plan, which I can completely agree with them, They might not have to, but how is it going to be competitive to the other gas stations? If they offer something else, then we need to know exactly how different is that and what population they are going to attract and whether that's going to affect the Long Grove community. Because I moved to Long Grove, honestly, because of the serene atmosphere, because of the village type look, so that, we can move along as a community. So I'm not convinced, so I'm not in favor of this at all. Thank you.
Quiet, please. Quiet, please. Go ahead. Oh, do you have some pictures?
What?
I tend to see this a little differently. When we first were introduced to the Quick Trip idea, which I think, tell me if I'm wrong, at least maybe 2.5 years ago, the first thing I said was, I'm not against gas stations, I just don't want it to look like a gas station. And you have brought to me, you have brought answers to a lot of the questions I had in addition to that. One of my concerns, big concerns, and it still is, it's 24/7. And on that score, I understand the security reasons for that. I get it. Perhaps we could, for the first year, not do 24/7 and revisit it. Perhaps.
Hey, can you keep the microphone a little closer?
Perhaps.
Yeah, thank you.
Does it make or break at this point? No. I still believe, because my experience with your company is you're a family-owned business, employee-owned actually. Your stores are clean, your employees are happy. The food that you have, while not vegetarian enough for me, is, however, good junk food. but it's a nice alternative to Big Macs and Burger Kings and so on and so forth. And it's not white tablecloth, but it's a nice niche market that you fill. You took away my fears of what a gas station attracts. My thinking, not that I have anything against oil change companies or Bell Tire or any of those kinds of things, but typically if there's a gas station, you get what we're used to seeing up at 60 and Route 83, the northern end of the village. So I feel good about that. I appreciate that. I know that the residents, several residents many residents I've spoken with in the last 6 or 8 weeks. It's the aesthetics that seem to concern me more than anything. Because when I show them pictures of alternatives, most, if not all of them, have said, no, I could live with that. I don't like it. Nobody's arguing that we don't need a gas station. We get that. That's not the point. You're here. You're willing to spend millions of dollars in our town, which I appreciate. So I agree with Adam big time. As residents, I think we have gotten used to the view along Route 83. It's just there. It's what it is. But if you come here from, shall we say, Scottsdale, if you come here from Libertyville, you notice that Route 83 is not gorgeous. You make a very good point. I would like you to help us make 83 beautiful by being the first beautiful gas station, the first beautiful shopping center that they see when they come around that corner. That would be fabulous. I kind of like the look of the Starbucks here. Y'all did a great job on that. I even like, what's the northern suburb here? Norwich.
Yeah.
The George Jetson
Yeah.
thing. You know, if you could take that canopy and make it wave. I have pictures that, so I've sent them twice today and now I'm finding out they didn't go through, I don't know why. But there's a Quick Trip in Dallas, right off of I-30. I was there 3 weeks ago. I came off the interstate. There's a Quick Trip in front of me that has dark red brick, and it's got black granite across the front, crown molding on the top of it. And lo and behold, there were brand new, gorgeous apartment buildings right behind it. And the Quick Trip complemented the condo buildings. I got back on the interstate, came back, I took a video, I took pictures. I'm like, this is not a bad looking Quick Trip. So if I would like to give you the right, the due process that you deserve to get more answers to your questions so that we can have more information. We understand this is not a final vote. If you could help us make 83 look beautiful from the north, the south end, we can take care of, in future years, hopefully not too many, all along that median strip, the nursery that was full of broken glass a year ago, we finally got rid of it. I think you would see a different attitude. And Mr. GTZ, fabulous. You know, the shopping, the buildings that are going in Bannockburn, they complement Sunset. You know, they're beautiful. I know about the car garages. They're fabulous. I thought of developing some myself. Doesn't have to look so industrial though, like some of them do, like George Macho. Can they look? They don't have to look pretty because I know it's a macho thing. I get it.
I just want to point out, thank you very much. That's a very helpful information. The images that we presented were simply illustrations of what had been dealt elsewhere. I mean, everything that we've shown you, I think you can see from how hard Quick Trip has worked over the last couple of years, has been trying to tailor this to this local community. Quick Trip prides itself on standing out. I mean, at the end of the day, gas is a commodity. You can get gas anywhere you want. They are trying to design this so that you want to go here. Okay, and then that's what you can see, the amount of detail, the amount of investment, that they very much want what you want, and I think determining what that vision is has been a collaboration through a lot of parties, but you know, they're not just looking to be another gas station. I mean, the truth is, most other gas dealers we work with would have been long gone a while ago. They have shown a commitment, both financially and patience, to want to be that special station. And you know, I think some of your concerns are valid, and I think they stand behind their product. They want to be the place to go. You know, at the end of the day, this is mostly pass-by traffic, so the whole 24-hour thing, I'll just tell you from past experience. I mean, this is a bedroom community. Okay, I mean, if someone needs to get gas in the middle of the night, they want to be the place to go. But at the end of the day, if the business isn't there, then they're going to close it. I mean, it's a bad business decision to be open if they're not doing business. But these brands they stand behind their product. They stand behind what they're trying to represent. I think what Skylar indicated is they want to be all those things. And the images that we provided really are meant to be the gateway into Long Grove. And the gas, look, I've said this before, not in this venue. I mean, let's not let perfection hold up progress. And this property will sit. Your people are talking about Buffalo Grove. Who wants to wait 6 years to figure out if that happens? I mean, how about the fact that this has been vacant for 30 years, and it could be vacant for another 30 years, even if it stays in Long Grove. It's just, this is an underutilized property. Thank you. Oh, sorry.
I'm getting the high sign. Go ahead. That's not right. Keep it moving, right? If we vote here tonight to let you go to the next step, so you get more information, we get more information, can you promise that you can build a facility that the residents are proud of, as opposed to one we spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to hide it?
Hey, everyone, quiet.
I would say, I was going to say, part of the reason why we took a step back in this process from what was originally presented as final was for the preliminary. Hundreds of thousands of dollars need to get spent in the next step to illustrate the vision here. We're going to have to go back through the Architectural Review Board. I mean, I was very clear up front that we showed representations of what had been elsewhere. We're not saying we're building this here. So we want that opportunity. We simply are looking for a positive recommendation and vote to take the next step so that the concept plan you see is what we want to effectuate with more detail. But there's a lot of work ahead, and we want to make sure that we have the big picture squared away first.
Skylar, what's?
Yes, so getting a yes vote tonight allows Quick Trip to dedicate much more time into design and everything else for us to move forward so that we can bring a very presentable project to the Architectural Commission. We've done a lot of work so far, but we are willing to continue to, work with the Architectural Commission to make sure that this is a project that, the residents of Long Grove will actually like to be around.
I'll hold you to it.
You got it.
No. Before we turn it over to Trustee Rouse, we can try this. You're on the phone. Do you have any comments? So Rita, where's your head at? The microphone. Pick up.
Okay, so I'm not sure where Rita's at right now. I was kind of curious. Just the one sentence summary.
My thinking is tonight's vote is for, I don't want to lead people on and lead them and go, no. So tonight's vote, as far as I understand, is not a final, it's a preliminary. It allows them to get the numbers to IDOT, to get answers to some of the questions that we still have, that still remain. It's not a go, but it's get the information, the zoning is going to change to business anyway. I mean, it's agriculture, that's no big deal. So it allows them to do their thing. It allows us to continue to monitor, to have questions, to go through it. I feel like I'm not being unfair to them to say yes or no tonight. But I'd like to have more answers, and in order to get them, we need to do that. Does that make sense? Is that what you're?
No, thank you.
Sorry.
All right, so I don't know what that was for, but when the petitioner first came to the board, my comments were pretty clear. My comments were pretty clear when the petitioner came to the board the first time. I basically said, if this is a gas station and nothing more, I'm not interested. I wish upon wish that GTZ could define and could have processed that definition through the Plan Commission as to what the rest of this vision is for that property. I wish it would go the other way around, where the Quick Trip was a piece of the overall big vision. But right now, we have a gas station, which, as I mentioned preliminarily, I have no interest in by itself. On the other hand, I talked to several of the trustees and residents, and you know, the view along 83 and that particular property has been vacant for the 30-some years I've lived here. Will it develop? Probably. Should it develop? Probably. It's not going to be a residential parcel. So the view along 83 is somewhat distressed, in my opinion. Trustee Harris mentioned it quite accurately. As you drive up and down 83, you've got a pretty distressed view, with the exception of some of the newer buildings, and even some of the newer buildings are vacant, as mentioned by others today too. And the the west side of 83 has many homes that have dilapidated fences, stockade fences, all kinds of stuff that I'm not sure if it should be there or not, frankly. But it's what it is. So developing that property to me is very, very important. On the other hand, when I sat on the Board of Trustees many years ago, Sunset Food Development was brought into the village as a proposal, and part of the reason that I voted, one of the only votes against that development, was the premise that it would somehow help and save downtown Long Grove. You know, we could see whether or not that's successful. In my opinion, you know, it's kind of not. You have vacancies both downtown, and you have a lot of vacancies in Sunset Grove, and even though I think Sunset's a great neighbor and a partner, I think you know, the reason that I didn't support that back then was simply because I wanted to focus on growing the downtown Long Grove and that image, that branding, the festival town that it is, and that's what I wanted to focus on. So yeah, we did need a grocery store. Yeah, Sunset's been a great partner to the village, but I'm not necessarily sure that one has necessarily affected the other. So in all of the, you know, I've been around Village Hall for 32 years. I've never been on the fence on an issue than I have been on this one before, really, frankly. Like I said earlier, it's a gas station. I have no interest, but it's a gas station that brings with it infrastructure improvement that the village doesn't have the money to invest in, and would probably be quite a challenge for us to motivate IDOT to widen 83, put the curb cut in as appropriate. So, like I said, this one is very, very difficult, and I'm truly, truly on the fence. Walking in the door tonight, I had no idea how I'm going to vote. Frankly, I still don't know how I'm going to vote. I think the residents have spoken very loudly, but on the other hand, but you got to wait for the other hand. The other hand, that property's got to be developed somewhere, somehow, by somebody, and it's an opportunity for us to utilize the private funding that Quick Trip brings to the table. Like I said earlier, I wish it was the other way around. I wish GTZ came in and said, we've got a vision for that whole property. Right now, it's just a gas station, so it's a real difficult thing for me to vote on tonight. And frankly, I don't know. As of right this moment, I don't know if I'm in support or not.
Okay, so everyone's spoken here. Any other thoughts?
I have a
Yeah.
Trustee Bobby O'Reilly's in a nursing home, how can she vote?
You're out of order, please.
How can she vote?
You're out of order, please. Keep, do you have a comment? Pardon? No more comments? Sure, motion to approve from,
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second. No.
aye.
I'm having a hard time hearing. Can I get a recap of the current vote?
There's 3 yeses.
3 ayes, 1 nay. Aye.
Trustee Borowski. The motion carries. Approved. Passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We look forward to all the next steps. Thank you.
Barbara Clip, can you come forward? Yeah, consideration of what people leave here, I guess. Give it a second. We only have, okay, so we have consideration of funding requesting from the Midwest Sustainability. Barbara Clip's here to present that, right?
Am I live here? I am. So I sent you a document, partly a recap of how our last round of funding went. As you see, we went quite a bit over in our work on that, but we got private funding to secure the difference on that. Should I wait?
Go ahead, Barbara.
So we included that. I wasn't sure whether to put those as pluses or minuses, but I think it makes sense, I hope, to you. Since the last time I was here, you've all probably read in the paper and you're well aware that Lake County Forest Preserves has indicated and begun talks that they're interested in taking over the corridor. Can you hear me okay, Rita? You look like...
It's hard to hear right now, so. Go ahead, try again.
Maybe I'll talk closer. Does that help? Okay. Since last time I was here, the Lake County Forest Preserve District has begun talks with the state, and they've indicated an interest in taking over the corridor parcels. That is not going to happen during this legislative session, which ends at the end of this week, because the governor has asked for 2 things. One is he wants all the task force members to sign off that they support Lake County Forest Preserves taking possession of the land, because the task force, as you recall, recommended the state take it over. And then the second is they want the Lake County delegation in the General Assembly to support it. So for sure, I mean, the delegation is mostly in support, as far as I know, and I can't say publicly the details, but they are in support. The task force letter, however, has not been generated. So we want to remain engaged in that. Because of what's happening with the Waukegan Airport, there's a trust deficit with the Lake County Forest Preserves, not in their ability to protect this land and to preserve it and enhance it, but to ensure that this can never become a road. So we're not back to where we started. So we want some language in the task force letter that says the transfer language will prohibit it becoming a road or ever being sold or leased. And we also want to make sure not only that it's in the transfer language for the land, but that it's in the letter that the task force signs as well. We would also like the Forest Preserves to agree to have a conservation easement placed on the land to protect it further from ever becoming a road. There are a lot of questions that remain unanswered, not the least of which some of these parcels were purchased with federal highway funds. And my understanding from the Federal Highway Authority Administration is that parcel by parcel, there's a contract that says what, in this case, IDOT can do with the land. And it's not just a road. They can have stormwater holding there. They can build buildings. But parcel by parcel, there are contracts. I don't know how that's going to all unwind. And frankly, I don't think the County Forest Preserve District has the expertise to unwind it. So either CMAP would have to stay involved, or we're going to have to work that out in another way. So there's still a lot of work to be done.
Questions? You put the mic, yeah, use the mic, sorry.
No, but you may have some.
Okay.
I already knew this news.
Right. So, hey, well, so I mean, I guess, you know, the one question I have is, you know, some of the funding was used to try to reshape Kemper Ridge, which is odd because they're also donating funding to help, you know, the Route 53, opposing, you know, Route 53 and, you know, turning it into a greenway. So I don't know, how do we handle that, or how do we, as neighbors, how do we work that out? Because I never really thought that the money would be used that way, right? If that makes sense. Can you hear?
Yeah, that work. Are you talking to me, or are you talking to Bobby?
Yeah, Vic's in the room, yeah. Oh, about my question. I don't know if that was more of a question. The question I asked about, so, you know.
The activities of.
Yes.
I don't know what certainly that is related to the whole issue. That wasn't necessarily the objective of when the village last reviewed the funding. So that's a question really for the board as to how those funds be allocated.
I can say that the bulk of that funding came from private donors, because we were pretty much tapped out at the point that that came up. So we had to go to private donors for the remainder of that funding. One thing we have not used this funding for, because I think you made it clear in your directive, is to fight the 120 bypass. So that none of this funding goes to that fight, although it's related, right? Because if they go forward with the 120 bypass, that puts a lot more pressure on this property. But
Got it. Any, Trustee Tanucci?
Yeah, I looked at the dollar amount being requested, and I looked at the amount we budgeted for this year. And looks like this will take you about 7 months into our fiscal year, about 60%. And you're asking for about 60% of what we budgeted, so that's consistent. Just keep in mind that for the remaining 5 months, we've got around 19,000 and change left in our budget. Also, as I say every time, I absolutely 100% support what you're doing. I'd like to see someone carry some more weight than Long Grove. I know Hawthorne Woods has pitched in some, and certainly appreciative of that. I'd like to see us not carry such a heavy burden going forward. I'd like to see some sharing of the burden. But I do support this request tonight.
thank you. Thank you.
So just a question. So like on the top portion of your document, you have the budgeted amount and then the actuals. Going forward, is there a way to maintain the budgeted amount and the actual closer? It seems like there's a fair amount of spread in some of those columns. And then, you know, coming back going, well, look, every other business in the world is going to hit their budget number or come close to it, right? So I don't know how we do that, but I'd like to see going forward
Tonight.
Is this something that needs to be done tonight?
I think the answer is yes, right? You're out of funding.
Yeah, Barbara needs money.
Yes, and as we, President Jacob and I discussed, I'm not going to be here for the next 2 meetings. That was another reason. And we felt that the work needed to move forward in June, for sure. So, to answer your question,
No, so that's a fair question. And what's your position on this? Makes sense. Okay. Trustee O'Connor? Trustee Meal? No? Well, you probably have enough votes to make a motion to approve if somebody wants to. Moved by Trustee O'Connor.
Second.
Second by Trustee Tanucci. Roll call.
Aye.
yeah, regarding the work, yes, I will try to keep it closer, but as you know, things come up and things happen. For example, I don't know when they're going to come to me with these task force letters, but that could consume a whole month of my time. It's very hard for us to predict with any certainty how this is going to shape up. As you know, we've been here a long time. We never knew the Hawthorne Woods project was coming. We'll try to keep it closer. Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Is that a yes? Yes. Oh, okay, right. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara, for your work. All right, so the village engineers report, you're going to have to do this really fast. Well, we probably have a little bit of time. You want to come up here?
Do I need a microphone?
You do.
Dana says do it fast, so I'll just do it halfway between here. So just a couple things that I'll highlight from the engineer's report in the board packet. Village Hall expansion is going well. Walked through there last week. I was impressed. Painting is up, so take a tour when you can. Still waiting on the doors. I think that's still the linchpin to move staff over from the current side to the expansion side, so we can start working on that. The road program, got some good news on that. We're going to come forward with some bids in the second meeting of June, so we can get that underway. Arlington Heights Road, if you've driven on that, there's some paving going on over there, so they're moving right along now that the weather's kind of broke a little bit. And just the last thing I wanted to highlight, jumping way down to the permits, number 16, Seal of Long Grove. I had a meeting with the property manager, I think is his title, and McGinty the other day, and we were looking and we were discussing the state of the native plants around there, and the conclusion by everybody was not good. So they're not in good shape, that is. So McGinty and Seal and even Harbor Chase seems to be in the picture in the wings somewhere. They're getting a plan put together to address that and get that into shape. If you go back a few years, the condition of approval was they needed to establish the natives and foster them for 3 years. And they said, well, our 3 years is up. And I said, well, once you get it done, then your 3 years really starts. That's the most important period. So there's some movement there. I know that's been a discussion point over the years, so I just wanted to report that. And with that, I don't have any other highlights, but happy to take questions.
Microphone, please. Who's got the microphone? Oh.
Hello, Jeff. Okay, so.
Thanks, George.
So I'm kind of fed up with the landscaping at SIA. It's been more than 3 years. For 4 of the last 5 years, I have said, it's April, it's time for a spring burn. Hello, if you're gonna get wildflowers out there, this is the time for a spring burn. We're holding a deposit from them. I think I'm fed up. It looks terrible. It adds to the blight on 83. It's not beautiful. I'm all for taking the deposit and getting somebody in there that'll do something about it. I don't know how everybody else feels. I'm done. It's the same thing every year.
I suppose that's a village discussion. They could pull the bond that has not been fully released yet and do the work that they were obligated to do. But I think Chris would agree with me. We yield to the direction from the board on that one.
And you were working with McGinty and the property owner there to come up with the plan to get it back in order?
Correct.
It's awful. It's an embarrassment. They ought to be embarrassed.
Okay, so you guys are gonna address this? You can either have it in or not. Yeah.
So if you can give us direction that we need to tell them they've got X amount of days to produce a plan and a timeline, I think that would be something for us to work with.
Well, certainly we have the requirements in the ordinance, we have the security as well. Whether we simply go forward with an enforcement or whether we try to tease out of them a better plan is part of the choice here. I think if they are in the midst of doing the plan, we might as well see what they have to offer. It doesn't foreclose any of our enforcement options.
Okay, so this is something you all are gonna, all right?
Got it.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Any other questions?
Perhaps the Imagineers can help clear that landscape.
Okay, so moving right along to the village president trustee reports, we're getting close, so I'm going to abstain from a report. I'll turn it over to Trustee Borowski.
Nothing to report, thank you.
Trustee Harris.
No report.
Okay, Trustee Jamil.
The bridge hit again recently?
It did get struck, yes.
Oh, there was no communication. I learned from the social media. It would be better if please send out an email to the trustees at least.
I'll tell you, it was all over the news. It was hard to miss. Just so you know.
Well, not in the news. It was in the show.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, all over the news.
But I agree with Trustee Jamil on that. I think an email from the village would have been good. I first heard of it on Channel 9.
I heard it from my neighbor it happened. So he was stuck in the traffic trying to get across it. So I got.
It would be nice if the incident is reported as well as what you guys are doing, so that.
No, we agree with you. I was just being unfunny, I guess. But anyways, I tried. All right, Trustee O'Connor. No report. Trustee O'Reilly. Welcome back.
I just would like to once again thank the Long Grove Community Church for hosting us tonight, and especially Holly, who's back there in the AV booth, and Tom, one of our elders, who's over there in the corner, and the ladies and possibly gentlemen, I'm not sure, who baked all the goodies.
Yes, thank you
There's
so
goodies,
very
so
much.
pick some up on the way out. Thank you very much.
Okay, village manager? Sparkle? Okay, I would like a motion to adjourn. Moved by trustee Jamil, seconded by trustee O'Connor, all in favor? All right, meeting adjourned. Good night, everyone.